guys all look good, by the way. Just want to say.
You like this blazer, Dr. Seidle?
I do like that blazer. Janna, you're looking good too. Frank as well.
Well, so we have some amazing panelists lined up, just having some conversation. As you guys are starting to come onto the webinar, we're actually pushing out to YouTube and for people to look on their personal devices. But I want to welcome you guys. So excited for this panel. We have some rock stars. So the reason why we're having this webinar is in February, I promised you some top leaders. I didn't know who yet, but we got these amazing rock stars here that are willing to talk to your bosses and your bosses' bosses and your bosses' bosses' bosses to say, you know, like why having a rotation is amazing, how it helps your career, how it helps the organizations, and how it helps the Department of Defense and Department of the Navy in general. So my name is Ashley Floyd. I am an employee of Naval Surface Warfare Center, Carderock Division, and I actually have my CEO here, so I'm happy to have him here. And I'm on rotation from Carderock to NavalX. I've been here for about 1.5 years, and so just doing fun things like this, engineer by trade, and then coming like people person and extraordinary moderator, you know, by day. So like to welcome our panelists here today. So I'm just going to read a little bit about, read their bios if I can find it on my screen. So the first panelist we have is Mr. Frederick J. Stefany, who serves as Acting Assistant Secretary of the Navy's Research Development Acquisition Program as of January 20th, 2021. And having served as the Deputy Assistant to the Secretary of the Navy for Ship Programs since 2018, in his role, he is responsible for the oversight of all naval shipbuilding programs, major ship conversions, and the modernization and disposal of in-service ships. He also is responsible for executive oversight, cost, schedule, performance of ships, surface ships, submarines, and Marine Corps combat systems, electronic warfare systems, shipboard radars, and Navy missile defense programs. Another special guest, we have Dr. Brett Seidle. So he's the former SES and technical director of NSWC Crane. So a whole shout out to Crane and their family. He began his duties as the executive director at Naval Sea Systems Commands and Warfare Centers in April 27th, 2020. And with more than 27,000 employees, NAVSEA Warfare Centers represent approximately 30% of the Navy's engineering and scientific experts. So like I fall under him too, right? NSWC is comprised of 8 Echelon 4 divisions. So there's Carderock, there's Corona, there's Crane, Dahlgren, Indian Head, Explosive Ordnance Disposal Technology, Panama City, Philadelphia, Port Hueneme, and as well as 2 Echelon 5 commands. So Dam Neck Activity, part of Dahlgren, and Expeditionary Exploitation Unit 1, part of Indian Head. And he's also the Naval Undersea Warfare Center has 2 Echelon 4 divisions. That's Newport and Keyport, as well as 1. And man, Dr. Seidle, you are over a lot of stuff. You are over so much. Let me see. So in May 2013, Captain Hutchison reported to the U.S. Michael Murphy DDG 112 as executive officer, serving that role as the ship's post-shakedown availability and initial basic advanced training phases. Captain Hutchison assumed command of the USS Michael Murphy in September 2014, just prior to deploying to the 7th Fleet area of responsibility of her main deployment. Following that tour, he served as the director of the Command at Sea Department, that's N75, at the Warfare Center Officer Schools. And so from 2018 to 2019, Captain Hutchison attended the U.S. Naval War College, earning his master's degree in arts and national security and strategic studies. So recently, so last summer in July 2020, he became the 39th commanding officer of Naval Surface Warfare Center, Carderock Division. Shout out to you guys, family. Let me see, in 2009, so Dr. Seidle was actually the former SES and department head. So now we have on the panel today, Ms. Janna Foxx. Ms. Foxx assumed her position as a department director, Spectrum Warfare Systems Department. The department provides service for full life cycles and electronic warfare missions and radar technologies. Ms. Foxx was then promoted to the senior science technical manager in July of 2015. And then in May 2017, Ms. Foxx was selected as the deputy technical director for NSWC Crane. Ms. Foxx holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from University of Evansville and a master's in public affairs from Indiana University. And then we have Mr. Frank Kelley, who is the he actually is the president. He's acting president, or are you a full president, right? Of Defense Acquisition University. In this position, he is responsible for aligning DAU strategic plans to the goals of both the Secretary of Defense, the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment, while continuing to build that outstanding reputation of DAU as a Department of Defense primary learning institution for acquisition. He oversees the development and expansion of all of the acquisition curriculum and learning opportunities and the delivery of those learning assets throughout the 5 DAU regional campuses. And get this, guys, I just found this out reading his bio. Mr. Kelley serves as he served before as the Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Navy Unmanned Systems Command from October 2015 to June 2018. And in this capacity, he was the principal advisor for the Assistant Secretary of the Navy's Research for Development and Acquisition. So like back in the day, but for like Mr. Stefany's like position right now. So I'm actually gonna drop the full bios in the chat because guys, that's a mouthful, right? So like I said, like rock stars through and through. So guys, why are you guys here today? Why did everybody tune in to hear these great leaders? It is because all of you guys, when I'm reading your bios, and you know, Captain, you as well, you guys have been all over the place. You've had different positions, different offices. You've had rotations. So I say, I wanted to touch on some big things, like why are rotationals important? Why is it important to our commands? Why is it important as the employees? Why is it important for, you know, defense, the Department of Defense and Department of the Navy, right? Mr. Stefany, do you have some remarks that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. That was quite an introduction. I think you need a break after that one. I'm very impressed. Also, I'm a ship guy, and I'm very impressed you get to sit in a cockpit of an F-18. That's really, really cool where you are right now. So, but as far as rotations and the idea of NavalX, I really wanted to come onto this panel to help kind of describe the value of rotations in general, and then how NavalX is really the place to go if you want to do a rotation. So first, you know, rotations certainly I value when I was coming in my career, and now as a leader, I value folks that have that broad experience, that have done more than one thing, have rotated out of their comfort zone a little bit, tried some different skills, or try to take on different organizational challenges, or just you know, had that urge to learn and network and create a larger network of folks that they connect with, and you know, continue to grow themselves as well as growing the organization. So overall, I'm a big fan of rotations, even if it's just moving to the department, you know, one office down from where you are. As far as NavalX, though, it is the coolest of all possible rotations from what I've seen. You get, and I'd say that from a couple point of views. One is again that you get a view of the Navy and Marine Corps that you would not get anywhere else. NavalX is plugged right into my office, as well as to the OpNav and headquarters Marine Corps staff. So you see the entire Navy Marine Corps team from a vantage point that you probably never will again in your career. The other probably big thing is you are involved in both working with our community as well as the industry that supports us, all kind of different companies, the academic world, all kind of different universities, the naval research community, like ONR and all those kind of labs. And so you can be doing research and doing acquisition and kind of be doing supporting sustainment of the fleet all at the same time, and connecting all the people in all those environments together. And so to me, that's probably the biggest and most exciting thing about NavalX. And it's done in a small environment, small teams, very collaborative. If you're an introvert, you will become an extrovert by being part of this process. I mean, it really is a great chance to both expand yourself and expand the overall Navy and Marine Corps mission. R&D and acquisition primarily, but there is definitely a large aspect of supporting the sailors and Marines out in the fleet today as well. So it all comes together in one place. I'm going to call it a Google-like environment. I've never been to Google, but I think that that's as close to what Google would be like from a collaboration and networking point of view. So I just encourage anybody interested in growing, learning more about the Navy Marine Corps team, particularly how it connects to industry, how it connects to academia, and how it's all connected to the building here, the Pentagon, the ASNRDA team, as well as the Commandant and the Marine Corps and the CNO's team. This is the place to be. So anyway, there's my sales pitch. Back to you, Ashley.
You know, I find it really funny you said some of those things, because they said if you come to NavalX, you will, you know, if you're an introvert, you learn to be an extrovert. And I actually going to switch up the order. Sorry, leaders, I kind of do that because I want to go to Miss Foxx, because NSWC Crane has an employee, Sandra Laughlin, who is with NavalX right now, and she's a typical introvert, right? And so we're actually taking these, we've used these techniques through Center for Adaptive Warfighting and a lot of the human-centered design techniques, where I found so much more respect for introverts, because when we do our like breakup sessions and we actually are doing like planning and things like that, we actually have like quiet time. So like all the extroverts can get their laughs out and talk out loud, because I'm an out loud thinker. And then we also have quiet time where we get to actually do our sticky note sessions and our brainstorming sessions, giving all those introverts a voice. So like, I have to be quiet, right? I got to calm my energy down to allow those introverted thinkers. Ms. Foxx, what has been your experience having a rotational away from Crane?
Well, thank you, Ashley. And just to clarify, so you weren't an introvert coming into this though, right? Okay. Well, you know, we used to always do program office exchanges coming from Crane into Washington, D.C. And over the last 10 or 12 years, we've really pushed to collaborate beyond that and offer rotations within DASN or OpNav. And sitting in the Midwest, it's especially valuable because we are not as closely connected. We have to work extra hard to be connected to what's going on in the world, both in the Navy and in DoD. So what we have found is that by placing folks in these positions, it's great collaboration opportunity. So we've had an emphasis on innovation here at Crane for a while, and through some studies have found that 75% of what you can predict about what influences innovation can be predicted. And of that, over 54% of it is collaboration. So it is one of the key areas. So we really push our folks to get out and meet people. We have a great tech transition office. We've been very engaged with the warfighter-driven challenge, but we still have a problem connecting technology into requirements. So we're always looking for new ways to do that. And Ms. Sandra Laughlin in her rotation has learned some new techniques that she's already practiced on us once, and I can't wait to get her back to practice some more. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. So speaking of those techniques, like I promise you guys, I was going to go out of order. So sending like the write-up in order, it's just, that didn't do you guys a justice. So Captain Hutchison, so you and I have had conversations about diversity inclusion, right? And like, how do you have a plan like moving forward? And I think, you know, I was, you know, talking to the technical director and Mr. Tarasek about like taking some of the tools I learned at NavalX to give you guys those brainstorming sessions. So I mean, what has been your experience? Because like, so you have had four rotationals at NavalX. So there was Ben Buford, there was Lauren Hanyok, and then me and Brad, who are on rotation now. So what is Carderock getting back out of rotations? Because like, you know, there's two that have already left NavalX.
Yeah, absolutely, Ashley. And I mean, just something if you can note down, and we can talk about this later, but we really need to work on your energy level and your willingness to speak publicly. So when you get back to Carderock, like we'll sit down and talk about that a little bit. Listen, you know, it's really, you can't measure what we've gotten back already. And, you know, we just continue to look forward to investing in members of our workforce like you and Lauren and the other folks you mentioned, because what we've gotten back is just really exponential. And not only do we get it back while you're there and you're sitting there in the cockpit, so to speak, at NavalX and at the Garden and all the places you get to go and all the activities you get to engage in and lead. I mean, like you talked about the TEDx DAU thing that you were able to sit on as a panel member. It's just, you know, it's really mind-blowing opportunity for you personally. And I'm sure someplace that I think it's fair to say you probably didn't maybe see yourself, and that we're thrilled to have you have that opportunity. But for you and those other folks that you mentioned that have gone to NavalX and have come back to Carderock or continuing to work there and will come back, it's the ongoing relationships. And it's kind of how that completely blows your mind wide open to the opportunities that exist, the networking capabilities, as some of the previous speakers had said, just the exposure to industry and academia. It's like, it's a huge organization. The Department of Defense, the Department of the Navy is a massive organization. But when you go somewhere like NavalX, that is so cross-cutting in so many ways, doing so much like high-speed, Google-esque, innovative things, the number of people and the types of people that you get the opportunity to engage with and build relationships with. And, we all know as leaders, as members of this organization, it's a relationship and trust business we're in. And so when you go there and you have the opportunity to really kind of completely blow the bookends apart on new ways to do business and build those relationships, all they do is grow from there, and you bring those relationships back when you come back to Carderock. So, it's awesome. I've just really, I got the opportunity to come down there. That's when I walked in, and after about 30 seconds, I felt like we were long lost siblings talking about diversity and inclusion, something we're both super passionate about. And, the relationship I've got, I kind of have some one-on-one set up with Lauren Hanyok just to keep me thinking, leaning forward, challenging conventions all the time. So those are some of the things that brings to Carderock, and will continue to do so.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, so guys, this is not like a one size fits all, right? But like in my experience, I started doing these panel discussions in person, and I actually got to work with Dr. Marina Theodotou when they came in for acquisition framework for cybersecurity. So this is back in February before COVID hit. And she came in and she said, hey, NavalX, I want to do this program. I want to utilize your facility. So she said, okay, she came to the facility, had an amazing program. And then, later on in that summer, Dr. Theodotou approached me about being a speaker for TEDx DAU. And I was like, what? A TEDx speaker? Wait a minute. First of all, I didn't even know DAU had this kind of thing. Second of all, you want me? I was like, crazy experience, right? So, so last summer we did that. So then shortly after, Dr. Theodotou was actually came to NavalX as a rotation. So Mr. Kelley, why did you send her, so because you probably were a little bit biased, I found it out like under ASNRDA, right? But what made you like send, when she's working at Defense Acquisition University, that's like a higher education level. What made you send her to NavalX? Like, why did you do
that? First of all, Ashley, so nobody's to touch your energy level. Okay. That is how you are defined. We can tap into it. We can probably power one of Jay's carriers if we had to, with it. And it's that, I think it's that energy level, but also genuine, authentic. I go back to when we brought down Katie Arrington, right, to do the CMMC thing with the panel members, and super good event. Look, I could bore everybody with my own personal story. I think without having ever met, with the exception of Jay, any of your other panel members, I can tell you my own little pathetic little tale of how lucky I was in the relationships that I was allowed to have within the Department of the Navy. And don't forget a couple of things here. DAU is not a Navy organization, and yet you invited us to participate, and we've provided you with, quite frankly, we vetted Marina. It's not a hard choice, but we wanted to make sure you guys got the very best. You're going to get somebody that's going to follow in behind Marina. It's going to be a tough act to follow for sure, but you are going to get somebody that's been vetted. You're going to get our very best out of that. I think for us at DAU, just the fact that we have an in, and I'm using air quotes, an in at NavalX, at a minimum, first order is going to make us serve the Navy better. And that is really, really important. Plus the connections that Marina's already forged, and those will continue to grow, right? That's really important. So if I can talk to the importance of networking and collaboration, as Janna mentioned, nothing gets done without people. You can have all the money you want. You can have all the time you want. Without your people, you're not going to do anything. And every one of these panel members, we heard them already talk about the value of their people and how much they care about their people. I love listening to Captain Hutchison talk about the value of diversity and inclusions. Power. I learned that from a couple of general officers in the Marine Corps, and I've never lost sight of that. But real quick, if I could just march down. So when I had probably one of the best jobs I ever had and one of the toughest jobs as DAS and unmanned, the first organization that we saddled up to was Carderock. And I can talk about folks at Carderock till the sun goes down, and they will remain in the will as far as I'm concerned. And Reed McAllister is the guy, their captain, who's if he's not a brother, you know, I'd love to make him one. But that relationship that we had under another famous SES in the Navy, Don McCormick, who said, hey, we need to get together with Carderock to make this happen. And I think that that's an important relationship and important leadership that we have in the Navy. My relationship with Crane goes back to when I was a captain in the Marine Corps. And don't forget, folks, a captain in the Marine Corps is an 03. If I was able to make major, it was because of my relationship with NSWC Crane at the time. I was a Prowler guy. I was an avionics systems project officer who knew what software was, but really didn't know the power of software and how vitally important that was to the Prowler mission. And then I would say Jay and I did some time together in the at ASN RDA. Those relationships that you forge inside the building, that's like being in a foxhole, right? Those are brotherhoods that you form, and those are shared experiences that are tough. They're late nights, and sometimes you're the only people in the building on those Friday afternoons. But this is all about, it's personal commitment on the part of the individuals that go there to you. It's these personal relationships that they forge, but it's also personal development. And I know from hearing from your speakers right now, that's really important. You know, one of the things that Marina was really proud of is when she told me the value of what she got out of NavalX. It's, I mean, the headers were those headers that we see in ECQs for folks that want to go on and be SESs, like many of our panel members right here. That's the type of ambition, which I think is a right word. It's not an ugly word. Ambition that the folks that go to NavalX, that they want to continue to serve their organizations, and in this case, it's going to be, it's going to be the Navy at the highest levels. And I think as long as you can continue to attract that kind of talent there, just strap on like you would inside one of those F-18s that, that's behind you, because you're in for a wild ride. These people will take advantage of these opportunities that they've been given. They will go back to their organizations and make them better, and their personal and organizational networks will continue to grow. Vitally important. So I really appreciate being able to provide you with another body in a couple of weeks, but also to participate on this panel today. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you. So I appreciate that. And that kind of brings me to like another question. Like you kind of said it. So what about if, so I already told Captain Hutchison, I'm coming back to Carderock because like I've been talking with him, talking with my TD, my deputy TD. Like I have some amazing, initiatives, ideas, and like even just to support, like I love Carderock, guys. So you're not going to steal me away just yet, right? But Dr. Seidle, what about if someone comes to NavalX and now they want to go to another organization? Like, what if like aren't the commands afraid of losing their people? Like what if that happens?
Thanks, Ashley. I'm trying to imagine you as an introvert right now. And Frank, I'm going to let Don know that you said he's famous. I'm sure he's going to love that, right? He'll like hearing that. Ashley, I think whenever folks take rotation opportunities, there's a lot of benefits for the individual, for sure, right? It's career broadening. It allows them to see things in a different light. Become a better employee, if you will. And I think a lot of individuals, they're not always sure that they have the time to do it. They're not sure that it's the right moment to do it. But at the end of the day, ultimately, if they're willing to take that step, I find that host and receiving organizations are usually willing to help. But it's not, to your point, right? It's not just about the benefits for the individual. There's a benefit for the Navy. There's a benefit for the nation. I often think about, the host organization. Often if the employee comes back, like yourself, if you're coming back to Carderock, which is great, by the way, I'm happy about that. But if you come back, right, we get an individual who has had a chance to go out, have a different perspective on the organization. You don't know what you don't know. I came into this job as ED and I thought I understood how the Navy and NAVC worked, only to find out that I really didn't, right? There's a lot that I didn't know, and rotations even in this building would have been beneficial for me. If you're a receiving organization like NavalX, you get somebody with a fresh set of eyes who have the ability to then offer perspectives. And ultimately, if that individual decides when it's all said and done to go to a different organization, not they don't stay with the organization they're at, they don't go back to the host organization, the Navy and the nation still wins, because now you get an individual who has great perspective from multiple viewpoints, multiple organizations, and all of a sudden they're a better talent. They're a better resource. They are more innovative, more collaborative, and ultimately pay a lot of dividends. And it's a win for everybody. I think Janna would, we've talked about this a lot when we sent people out for rotations, and we recognized that when we did that, there's a good chance that they may find an opportunity and not come back. And ultimately, we believe that's a win for NAVC, for the Navy, for everyone involved. And so, I'm a big fan of rotations because I think everybody wins. I think the individual wins. I think the host organization wins, the receiving organization, wherever it's at, even after the rotation, wins. And, to Jay's comment earlier, NavalX specifically, what an awesome opportunity for somebody because, you're getting a chance to really try to drive innovation in the Navy. You're getting a chance to play in ways that we don't often get to, and I think make a difference. And so I certainly would encourage anybody that's out there listening and wondering if you can, right? And the receiving organization and the host organization will help you work through whatever issues that you might have personally or professionally. So don't turn away from it just because you think, hey, it may not be the right time for me right now. Be willing to kind of step out. I think it'll pay a lot of dividends. Back to you, Ashley.
Yeah, I think I love that because I see Mr. Stefany when I was like reading his bio too. He bounced around all over the place. And so, what would you say? I mean, do you feel that you getting so much exposure at other organizations kind of like helped to get you where you are today?
Still back with me, yeah. So listen, I spent about half my career in the private sector with General Motors, now COA, and then the other half in the public sector with NSWC Crane and now NAVC here. And I certainly think, and I think it's true for anybody, your travels, where you land are all kind of tools you put in your toolbox, and you take that with you wherever you go. And those experiences, in my opinion, are what help open doors for you, help to make sure that you're ready for that next opportunity. And if you just stay in one place, those opportunities may not come calling. So yeah, for me personally, I think varied experiences has helped me to kind of be ready for situations that occur and organizational issues that you might have when you inherit something. So yeah, it's been a good thing for me personally.
So employees like myself, we're under nice 219 funding that pay for our rotations. But Mr. Stefany, maybe you can answer this. What if an organization is like, what if leadership doesn't want to give up the person? Like, what if there's a need? Like, what is some advice that you would say to those organizations? Because like, hey, if you're going to send me away, there's going to be a gap. Like my first few months, I was helping out with some things back at Carderock, and I'm actually going to be helping with Carderock with some inspections that are coming up this next few days. So I mean, I not traditionally like always able to help out because we have people at NavalX that are half-time that stayed for 3 months. I've been here a year and a half. We've had 6-month rotationals. I know my coworker Isabel, she's actually doing 50% probably her time, 50% for NavalX. So Mr. Stefany, like what if I can't give my people away?
Yeah, so Ashley, that's a great question. That's what's called a management challenge, I believe. But your point is, I think you kind of half answered the question right there. There's the traditional, I'm going to go away, physically move out of my job for like a year, and my home command has to suffer or get somebody in place. And I think most organizations, the leadership, you've heard from a number of the leaders here, but I think it goes across the whole Department of Navy that the leadership at the SES and the flag level really encourage it and want to have those rotations take effect, but there is mission work that has to get done, right? So if an organization or a person was willing to come part-time, like you just said, maybe go half and half or go for 2 weeks and go back to your old job, those are alternatives I think we would all support, as opposed to a permanent move for, say, a year, not permanent move, but a full-time move. But I think also I know when I was the PEO level or the SysCom level, or here an RDA, if somebody came in, it's on me, it's on the leaders that are on the phone here to find, and the supervisors to find those replacements, so no organization feels like they are losing, so to speak, right? It's a win-win. And I think most people know that they'll get that win in a year when the person comes back, but how do we make sure they know it's a win right now? And it's on us. We have to be able to show it's worth that little bit of a loss, have a fill-in plan. And to your point, maybe it's only 6 months, maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's 3 weeks. So then you go back to your old office for 3 weeks and go back and forth. There's many ways around it not around it, a way to achieve the goal without some organization feeling that they lost something. And I would happily turn it over to Janna or Brett if they have further thoughts on that, since you're a little closer to the workforce.
And I saw Captain Hutchison. Did you want to say something too?
Yeah, if I may, and then I'll defer to Janna and Dr. Seidle. I just couldn't agree more. And I think part of leadership and supervisors' responsibilities are to always look out for the workforce. And, Dr. Seidle talked about sometimes you choose different organizations. Just to be clear, Ashley, that option is not available to you. But our responsibility, if we're really dedicated towards investing in and looking out for our workforce, it's to invest in their futures, even at what I consider to be a short-term loss to our organization. Now, don't get me wrong, we're supporting the sailors and Marines in the fleet. Like, we are dedicated at Carderock, at every warfare center, and across the whole departments towards doing that. But, to do that over the long term, we have to sacrifice. And whether it's on the ship and sending people for extra schools, and you just have to take that hit out of a 300-person crew, knowing that on the back end of that, you're going to come out stronger and better and a more resilient team, a stronger team together. It's the same thing now at Warfare Center with almost 3,000 people, or NAVC with 27,000, Warfare Center Enterprise. It's about investing in our people. And that's just, it's a must do as far as I know most of the leaders in this organization are concerned.
And Ashley, to carry that a step further, we should always be ready. There are no guarantees that a person's coming back to work the next day. So we always have to be ready and do good succession planning to ensure that we're prepared. And the other thing is opportunity. So the person who just took the job in NavalX had an opportunity, but there's a person that can fill behind them that has an opportunity. So it just continues, and it's a great way to have more people engaged in those succession planning opportunities.
So my only small add to that, I think Mr. Stefany and everybody's comments already kind of spot on. I do think as leaders, it's, we do we have to create the culture where everybody understands that is what we expect. I think the problem that when this happens is because some supervisor in the organization at some level believes that there's some project that's just, and it can be real. The pressures can be real that cause folks to say, hey, this is problematic and I can't let you go. And I think oftentimes it's a little myopic, right? The aperture is not wide enough. And I think, it's important that we talk about it a lot as senior leaders to make sure that there's expectations on what we are looking for in this arena. And I think when you get those right, the rest of the organization kind of falls in line and follows suit. I feel, for example, in the Warfare Center Enterprise, honestly, I think it's something that we all feel pretty strongly about and support well. Doesn't mean that we can't run into problems periodically, but generally speaking, I think it's very few and far between. Over.
Mr. Kelley, so, you were saying, having a person that comes behind me, because I know my command is already lining up, someone else that's, come, because my rotation will be ending. And for the last year and a half or so have had two, right? So what makes you keep sending somebody in, like an organization like NavalX, or even the other commands, like the other leaders on this? Why would you send someone to the same organization over and over? You know, why do you have somebody coming behind Dr. Theodotou?
Well, so first of all, your most valuable person in recruiting has nothing to do with the people on this panel. It's the people that you worked with. Okay, that's what's going to make or break it. There's no way, as compelling as Captain Hutchison is, or my experience with Stefany, if one of the detailees at NavalX said, "Don't go there, it's toxic," or you'll hate it, you'll never get anybody. So it almost fulfills itself in that way. You want to see results. What we would want to hear, by the way, the president of DAU is a guy by the name of Jim Woolsey, who got sucked into the building because there was a vacuum there when the administration turned over. And so I am not the president, and I am not like Stefany. I just want to correct that on the intro that you had there. But as long as we can translate what that experience that they have at NavalX into something positive on the outside, that's all that we need to, that's all we need to see. So we do want to see that the individual has benefited, and they can see. One of the biggest things too, by the way, is, and I know that we're going to get this from Marina, and I love the fact that they sent Ben Buffard there as well. I heard that Ben had gotten sent there. And I have another name for the captain by the name of Eric Walzer. If you can spare him, he did a detail with us at Dazen. Man, the guy was phenomenal. I mean, he became the voice of our Dazen shop. As long as those people can come back and see that there's career growth for them, they come back super energized, right? Maybe not quite as energized as you are on a daily basis, but they come back super energized, and that benefits the organization. I know it almost sounds Machiavellian, right? Okay, it benefits. It's positive, 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 all the way around. That's why you do it, and it feeds on itself. So I imagine. So here's what we're going to do at DAU. So we've had Marina go out, and we've actually incorporated a selection to be the next NavalX person into a formal HR process where they will get vetted, and the minute people see that, right, that's some air of legitimacy. And I use air quotes only because you guys are legitimate right from get-go. When Gert stood you guys up, you start stacking them up like cordwood. Like, then you begin to have conversations like, hey, not 22, but we might be able to get you there in 23. So make sure you get yourself ready. And then the organizations can prepare. And then, like, some of the other things that we heard, like, where, wow, that puts a hurt on the organization and I can't let you go for 6 weeks. Now we can prepare, and we can do that other planning that, that these senior executives, get paid to do in order, and that makes it easier on everybody. That keeps the friction down to a minimum. Plus, which the last thing you want is, you don't want anybody to get punished when they get back to their command. You don't want anybody saying, wow, Ashley got a good deal. Time to put a hurt on Ashley. She's going to start taking out the garbage, cleaning the heads. We don't want that. We want people to see you visible in a high place where you're doing big things, just continuing that momentum. Over.
Mr. Kelley, did somebody already tell you what the plan was at Carderock for Ashley?
Hey, but I will say this.
Kidding.
It's a crazy thing. My coworker told me this because he was doing some cleaning up or doing something for like a couple of weeks. I think we were preparing for the I think it was the Lean Sigma, like we were like cleaning up the base, right? And he said, you know what? I get paid the same to work on my contracts or take out the trash. So but so we did touch a little bit. Oh, Mr. Kelley was going to say something.
Well, I just was going to say, if that is the plan, I'm going to take Dr. Seidle's thing and say, we got a place for you at DAU. Okay, so I'll start poaching. I'll start poaching right now, which I know that's what this whole thing's about anyway. So.
Look, free advertisement. Maybe some of the things. So did you guys, if you've had rotations, and anybody can speak on this, if you have rotations, what if you weren't able to at the time? So I see a question that says, hey, we've only got 2 employees at my site with no funding and resources. Like, how can I go on a rotation? And I think we talked a little bit about it, is like, sometimes, that you can't leave that, like, short-term mission. But what about, you know, later on, like how would somebody approach that?
Yeah, I'll jump in if that's okay, Ashley. I mean, one of the things I tell to all of our new employees actually during onboarding, that one of the benefits of getting a mentor proactively and right away is to learn about opportunities in the future. Because, you know, when people are first onto a new team, then obviously, you know, they should be dedicated towards figuring out the new organization and getting into their understanding their role in the organization and doing their job first and foremost. But before you know it, it's going to be a year or 2 or 3 years down the road. And that might be a good time for an opportunity to present itself to do a rotation, whether it's a NavalX or somewhere else. So it's about learning what you can now, building the networks with the people who have done those organizations or those rotations. And then before you know it, the right opportunity does pop and then you're prepared.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great comment. I was going to say hard work leads to good luck. You know, ultimately, there's not unlimited opportunities. So there are going to be people out there in any moment in our organizations that say, hey, I'm ready for a rotation. And we may not have that many at that particular moment, but preparing yourself for it and making sure that you're ready whenever the time comes and that you're competitive, so that if you're in a situation like Frank described, where, you know, you're vetting candidates, you want to be the one that people say, hey, I'm ready to go. So you create your own luck through hard work and preparing yourself for it. But yeah, so good comments, Cap.
You know, I was thinking about that too. As far as like rotations, you know, moving up in your careers, like the mentorship piece, I think is huge. And a lot of time, you know, we're saying you have like those allies. So I was sitting in on Women's History Month by ASN, MNRA, Secretary Kesmar's lunch break with the leaders. That was phenomenal. And also I've sat into some similar, you know, talks about, like, you know, how diversity and inclusion can pay, you know, whether it's disabilities, different races, you know, your sex, your orientation, your sex, all those things. So what about, well, what about like mentorship? So, you know, Ms. Foxx, Mr. Stefany, because, like, you know, I always love calling on people I haven't heard from. Like, how did mentoring play a part in like choosing those career paths? Because I'm sure you amazing folks had plenty of rotational opportunities, right? Or plenty of times to get new jobs. Where did mentorship play a part?
Well,
Janna,
for
you
me,
wanna go first? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
haven't left Crane, but I have been everywhere at Crane. So that, you know, I've got encouraged from a lot of my mentors, why aren't you applying on this job? This would be a great rotation for you. And sometimes I needed those questions to be asked. So no matter where you are or what you want to do, there's opportunity to expand yourself.
And I was just going to add, similarly, I didn't go on a formal rotation, but having a couple mentors, some that are in my chain of command, some that were outside my chain of command, I had people that would come and say, hey, you should apply for that. Or you, and in one case, when I first came to the Pentagon, I didn't necessarily want to come. I was kind of given a little kick to come over to the Pentagon. It's going to be good for you. And it did turn out to be really good for me, but sometimes those mentors will give you a little kick too. So absolutely everybody should be looking to have mentors, like I said, both within their chain of command, but also outside, that can kind of help and watch over them and kind of give them a little advice when they need it. And for those who are watching that are kind of in the mid-career, you know, at GS maybe, you know, 14 or 13 or an 03, 04, you should be mentors too. It's not just SCSs and captains and flag officers. I mean, you've been in the job more than a year or two. You should start actually mentoring the new people coming behind you. So everybody should be either a mentor or a mentee. It's just to be part of your growth going forward.
So this was a good question too. Someone says, you know, they frequently hear they don't have time or too many proteges. Like, you know, Dr. Seidle, if I need you to be my mentor, like right now, I'm pretty sure you've got 30 or 40 that are just like, you know, chomping at the bit. What about that? Like, what if you guys are like too busy? Cause like, I'm pretty sure you want to pour into as many as you can, but there is but so much time, right?
Yeah, I saw the comment flashing across the screen, right? Mentors are sometimes difficult to find. So listen, we do spend a lot of time mentoring. There is, once again, just a certain amount of bandwidth that you do have. You know, what I typically tell folks is that, you know, you can find folks in your everyday walk that can be very helpful to you on several fronts. It doesn't always have to be a senior leader that you think might be somebody that can crack a door for you. You know, I'm kind of a firm believer that you ought to be about development throughout your entire life, not just during your career. In personal and professional life, you ought to be about your development, and that's going on all the time. So you ought to wake up every day trying to be the best version of yourself. And I say that to say a lot of times we get to a certain stage in a job or a career, and we think, well, we know what we know, and this is what I am, and we stop. And in truth, kind of always taking stock of where you're at, where do you think you have some weaknesses, where should you be spending some time and effort to develop, leads you to, even if you can't find the perfect mentor in the moment, that you can talk to whoever your supervisor is or whoever's in your chain of command to say, hey, here's the area that right now I have some weaknesses in, and I would like some training or some, some teaching, some learning in this particular arena. And I find that a lot of times, people don't get very far in their career and they just decide, well, I'm self-actualized now. This is who I am. And I think you're kind of developing all the way to the day you stop. And stopping means kind of the end of the road, right? Not at 50, not at 55, not at 60. You're still developing. So you may not find the right mentor, but you can be about your personal development and self-awareness on that front all the time.
Yeah, I literally just asked my second level supervisor, Mr. Johnny Deloach. I said, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? You've been in 30 years. What's next? Like, because a lot of times I hear, the higher you get up in your career, you're starting to now get mentored from the youngies. So like Johnny wants to stay hip. So he's got, I joined the group, he's getting the, more perspective from new people. So, that's really important. So I like you touching on that, saying that, you want to what is that next thing? Like, how do you keep on growing? It's like, cause I feel like no one has fully arrived, right? And then like when you arrive, so I'm about to arrive at the end of my rotation, and I see this in the question and answer. So Ms. Foxx, Mr. Kelley, and Captain Hutchison, how are you dealing with the rotationals that will come back? Like, how are you, what are you gonna do as managing these employees? Like, does everybody go back to their same jobs? Because sometimes people have seen challenges going back to their organization and like reintegrating into the command.
Okay, I can start that. Not only with this rotation, but with other rotations, we will work with the employee. They will go back to their original place that was held for them, but they don't have to. So we will have a conversation, see what they've learned, understand what their goals are professionally, and do all we can to help them move forward and help the organization. So there's lots of flexibility there.
Yeah, if I may, I'll just add to what she just said. So Ashley, as you know, Lauren Hanyok that did a previous rotation, she was working in one of our codes. When she came back, we kind of reevaluated, looked at what she needed, a best place to fit based on her experience and what she'd been exposed to at NavalX. And she went to a completely different tech code that gave her a different opportunity. It wasn't an upgrade or a downgrade. It was just a better fit once she came back. It's someplace she's super energized to be. She's excited. She does a lot more fleet facing work, which is something she's really passionate about, is delivering to sailors and Marines and engaging in that area. So that's a great opportunity. Hey, and if I can, I want to circle back to something Dr. Seidle said on the mentorship piece. That is challenging to find time for that. And I hope Dr. Seidle doesn't mind. He and I were just on the phone the other night talking about a work-related issue. He's got a leadership style that I really respect. And so I had a specific question about one of the challenges you face with a style like his. And so when we talked about our work issue, I said, hey, sir, do you mind if I ask you a quick question? I asked him the question. He gave me a great response. We had a real brief discussion. So he's not a formal mentor of mine, but he's somebody who's a leadership style I respect. And I just grabbed that few minutes of his time to get a little bit of mentorship in. And so I'd encourage everybody to, it doesn't have to be a formal organizational endorsed or invoked mentorship program to really seize opportunity of people you just work around with or for, and just have those couple of questions queued up where you can take advantage of a few minutes of their time. Maybe it's on an elevator, maybe post-COVID, it's actually in a lunchroom when we can eat like normal people again, and take advantages of time like that. And you really get a lot of, again, you get back to building those relationships and trust and learning.
Thank you. Mr. Kelley, what is Dr. Theodotou going to be up to when she gets back? 'Cause she's a rock star. Phenomenal.
Okay, so Ashley, did Marina put you up to this? You know?
No.
Yeah. I'm telling you. So so this is a little sensitive issue, and I should have gone to school on the way Janna answered it, because I thought it was beautifully handled. Right? This is like, what, you want me to air my HR dirty laundry? So let me tell you. So here's where I'm thinking right now. The first thing I did is I went to the participant section on the menu here just to see if I could see if Marina was out there. I'm positive she's listening though. She's out there. Here's one of the things that you might remember. So for us, it might be a little differently. One of the things that we were challenged by Secretary Lord before she left was we are changing DAU. And I don't want to freak anybody out there. I mean, you know, our goal remains training the workforce so that we can, you know, part of the mission there is to help improve acquisition outcomes in the future. But the way we do it is going to be a little bit different. So the organization that Marina left is not going to be the organization that she comes to. And I will already tell you that there's several folks in this newer organization that already have plans for Marina. I don't want to get ahead of them. And she is a rock star. I'm not trying to be, you know, BS you here in any way, shape, or form. One thing I do want to say, one thing that we do, we take stock of the individual. And this idea of outreach is one that's really, really important for organizations like NavalX and DAU. And of course, for the Naval Warfare Centers, you know, which I have to say are really the crown jewel. And I've been a vice commander at a Naval Systems Command. I commanded my own systems command. We did not have a warfare center, by the way, at Marine Corps Systems Command. There were a couple of former commanders in the Navy who said all of the warfare centers serve the Marine Corps. So I'll give them a pass on that. And it was true. I wish we had one, because they are great places to be. But the fact that Marina, who I value her ability to outreach, and now she's got these connections out to naval warfare centers and people at naval warfare centers that people don't even know about, like Panama City. People don't know about Panama City. It's absolutely fantastic. Or the superstar that you have down in Orlando, Diana Teal, who, and I will tell you, she is a rock star as well. Awesome. Those, we want to put Marina in a position where she can continue that outreach campaign that she was thinking about and just start out at DAU before she left to go work with you guys. And that only expanded while she was working for you guys. So she didn't stand still for sure. We can't wait to get her back over.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure I'm respectful of you guys' time. I do want to ask this one question because, like, okay, we've talked a lot about going on rotation. We talked about how it helps the organization, the individual, the Department of Defense, Department of the Navy in general, right? You know, if it's, you know, the people are getting what they need, the organizations and up the chain get what they need. But what about, you know, what are some ways to get involved with maybe a project that can get you like that different exposure? So Dr. Seidle, Mr. Stefany, like, do you guys know of any opportunities or things that people can get involved with to just expand their knowledge versus like going away on rotation?
Yeah, I can jump in there. You want to either way?
Go Brett.
Okay. Yeah, you know, so I think this is one of the things Mr. Stefany hit on early on, that you don't necessarily have to leave your command to rotate into different opportunities. I think he was the one that said that right off, and I think that's very true. You know, I think there's always opportunities to be involved in projects that are cross-cutting in a command, and we're always out there trying to search for those folks that want to play in that arena, and sometimes to your point, there'll be, you know, a certain set of folks that we know we can lean on in those times, and we'll keep going back to that individual to play on some of these teams that are supporting the command. And if an individual, you know, I saw one of the questions where somebody talked about their expertise and experience, and maybe it didn't match up with with the opportunity. I think you got to communicate that in your chain, communicate it well, let them know that you're looking for opportunities. And I think those kind of projects exist in each one of our warfare centers, for example, in the enterprise that I'm a part of. And I think folks would absolutely get opportunities to do some of those things, but you got to be intentional and you got to voice those requests and concerns up the chain, and we'll listen to that. Over.
Yeah, so I'll add to that. First, I'm going to answer one question real quickly, then we'll get to this question. I saw come across the chat. ILDPs or IDPs and the thing about rotations. Yes, some people think IDPs are only for classes. No, rotations are education. Definitely put it in your IDPs. That helps us do the planning. Your supervisor should then be talking to their supervisor about how they implement the IDP for you. So I'll just give that little answer to one of the chat questions. But on this one, yeah, there's lots of opportunities across, whether you're at a field activity, one of the warfare centers, whether you're at a SysCom, even if you're in the Pentagon, to volunteer for teams. There are always teams being created for something, whether it's a diversity team that's whatever month of the year it seems to have a different team each month. Volunteer for those. You can get your some organizational type work done, but also get seen by leadership and learn a lot more about your organization. Then there's teams like right now. I just sent out a request. I don't know if it made it all the way down to the working level, but we were looking for people to work with HHS on the big plus up that the big CARES Act 2, the billions of dollars that HHS as an organization is going to buy all kind of vaccine type stuff and that kind of stuff, and they don't know how to design and then actually do contracting. So they've come to the Navy to do that, and we're looking for volunteers to be on that Project Warp Speed or those kind of projects. So I mean, that's a formal one, but there's always informal. And then just go to the people next to you. Sometimes it's I was an engineer. I don't know anything about contracts. So I would go and spend time just with my contracting officer in my program to learn about contracting. And you can just do that kind of, not necessarily rotation, but people always kind of like to brag about what they do. So go talk to somebody that's in a little bit different organization. I'm sure they'll be happy to share, and then you'll obviously learn a lot by doing that. So I share those ideas beyond the formal rotational ideas.
So I really appreciate you guys for tuning in, and because you guys are so big, you guys are like the big wigs. I can't believe you all said yes to this panel. I was freaking out but I remember Captain Futcher, which was the previous director. I remember two or 3 weeks in to NavalX, and he said, "Okay, you're going to brief this 4-star Admiral Fogo, about NavalX," and I lost it. I was so anxious for that, and I haven't been like that since a year and a half. But thank you guys for joining. I appreciate you guys and want to be respectful of your time. So there was lots of questions that we did not get to in the chat. Our current, he's a rotational from NSWC Carderock, but he's also the deputy director for NavalX, Brad Goodrich. We are still taking rotationals here. I wanted to get NavalX kind of information, but also for rotation in general, kind of make this, worldwide, because we can't take, I think there's, lots of people in here. We can't take everybody, right? But, I would like to encourage everybody to I still, keep pushing through because, it's all learning experiences. So I'm glad you guys were able to come here, learn something today. Thank you, leaders, for taking the time out to talk to the Navy community, Department of Defense community, and thank you, everybody, for attending. Reach out for questions, and we'll also send this out afterwards if you guys missed it. So we thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks to you and NavalX for setting this up.
Thank you.
Thank you.